ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to the CSL. I am Joe. I'm joined here today by Fear Dragon. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing quite wonderful, Joe. We had a little bit of a hiatus for myself from the CSL as I was off traveling the world, but man, it is good to be back. How was your week? How was last week of CSL?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Kwame jumped in, tempo, because Zombie Grub was also over in Leipzig. So we casted StarCraft 2 together. We both know that game pretty well. We casted Brood War together. That was a little bit more of a meme fest, but it was a lot of fun. So maybe we'll see him again. I'm not really sure, but I do know we have a terrific game going on here with RPI and Ontario Tech. RPI is home to Jon Snow.
Yeah, Jon Snow, probably one of the hardest hitters that exists in the CSL right now, is absolutely a super strong force to be on the lookout for. And he is going to be playing in that second 1v1 match. But kind of the funny thing today is that we are actually going to be starting with the 2v2 just because I believe one of the players wasn't quite able to make the normal time for the this particular time to play out the match. So they decided to play out this 2v2 early. We're going to be hopping into a replay for that, and then we're going to be going over to the 1v1s, which we're all going to be played live.
Yeah, and that should be a lot of fun. So here we go, jumping into the first game, spawning in the top right-hand corner, playing for Ontario. We have the orange team. Bears for Complexity? Is that the real clan tag?
I think the normal, I don't know if it's actually case sensitive, but I think Complexity is capital C, lowercase o, capital L, but I could be wrong.
And in the bottom right hand corner, it is, or the top right hand corner, rather, it is the Purple Terran 0.
And on the bottom side of the map, we have the teal Zerg player. Give it up for Spaceman. I almost said Spachemin. You were talking to me, you're joking to me about that. And on the left-hand side of the map, we have the green Terran player. Give it up for T-Fang. And those two, I believe, are going to be representing good old team RPI.
RPI is the Rochester Polytechnical Institute.
Yep. I think it's just Polytechnic, not Polytechnical, but, you know, that may be splitting some hairs.
What's a syllable between friends when you're dealing with the longest college name on Earth, Ravi?
A fair point indeed, but yeah, it's gonna end up being this kind of cool little TZ versus TZ. So you got a nice little mirror matchup here, but that doesn't always necessarily mean that things are gonna open up totally even. We already see that we got our green Terran player making that first Reaper while also adding on a second Barracks, but might actually be going for a handful of Reapers, and his opponent on the other side of the map is actually going for 3 Barracks, Joe. So that is already just one additional Barracks difference in terms of Reaper production.
Yeah, and it can be such a huge thing in a 2v2 when the unit production from both sides can be absolutely enormous. The first lings of bears are getting into this base right now. They're moving on to creeps. There is going to be vision in a moment here, and there is nothing to defend these as they target down that spawning pool right away. They're not going to kill it before it finishes, but we've got to see a reaction here soon if we want to see that saved.
Oh boy, well the Reaper is going to be able to come out and help out his ally for a little bit, but as soon as Zero arrives with his own Reaper, yeah, look at that. We already end up seeing that Zero is able to chase away his opponent's Reaper. That spawning pool getting lower and lower. The drones being pulled off the line may not seem like that big of a deal right now, but this is a lot of lost mining time as well. And in 2v2 especially, that lost mining time really adds up quickly.
Looks like the Lings are trying to get on top of these Reapers once again, but both of them are kind of dancing around each other. Zero's Reapers helping to back up the Lings. Speed is done now, though, which means those Reapers need to be so careful, or they can get grabbed out of nowhere.
Yeah, they really have to be careful. One of them was already picked off. The other two getting a little bit lower on health. The Reapers now we have already for Zero starting to throw out some of those concussive grenades. Wow, we got bears with the Banelings coming on out as well. Oh god, once these Banelings pop out, these drones just cannot fight anymore. They can't do anything about this. They're going to actually be going after the Reapers for now. The Reapers trying to get as many pickups on these Banelings as possible before they get into the middle line. But there they go, and I mean, getting some pretty decent hits, but amazingly enough, Spaceman still keeps 12 drones alive, which is more than I thought he would. And he has that hatchery at the natural. Or actually at the gold.
That was pretty chaotic, so I'm just going to pull up the Excel spreadsheet that is a units lost in 2v2 here. And only 6 drones total went down compared to trading out 16 Lings +3 Banes for that attack. That's a pretty nice hold, I would say, from our RPI players.
Yeah, that's not too bad of a hold. We do actually have the RPI players pushing across the map now. The Reaper is getting into the main base, and hey, even if they have 2 barracks production versus 3 barracks production for a little bit, guess what? There are far more Reapers now for T-Fang. And now Spaceman even running in with some of these Zerglings. Now he is getting chased by Bears, who's here to help defend his teammate, but oh man, Spaceman's trying to return the favor with the Banelings morphing in plain sight, but all of them are going to get canceled.
Yeah, really nice job getting the wraparound on top of those. These Reapers, though, can just bounce infinitely up and down the ledge. There's a couple Reapers here to help defend, but more Reapers always beats less Reapers, which is going to put Ontario in a kind of awkward position there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Joe. I really actually like RPI's situation in this game so far, just because they've been able to. We already have a gold base for Spaceman, so he's already in a better economic position, even if he's down 1 worker. That gold base really pays huge dividends. The T-Fang, the Terran player, is doing much better, not only in terms of workers now, as it's 22-10 in terms of the Terran players. In favor of T-Fang, but he's also got more Reapers. Like, this is just looking so good for RPI right now.
Yeah, it's snowballing a little bit out of control here. The Reapers are on top of absolutely everything, and I think they can just target down anything that's going to pop from those barracks at this point. The SCVs are all sacked, and I mean, that's going to be it for our Terran player. What can Bears do here to try to make something happen?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Zero is going to have 0 influence on his ability to really pull back for at least a little bit. There are a lot of Banelings out, though, for Bears, and they can make or break the difference. Ling's trying to get us around on those Reapers, but not able to find it. The Lings for Spacemen, as well as some of those Banelings, actually really doing a good job of running interference for a bit.
Yeah, the final Reapers of Zero also playing kind of like linemen. Oh my god! Every single Ling of Bears goes down. That was devastating when you're already playing in a behind situation.
God, if he had been able to keep those alive, they run across the map, they maybe actually start going after the drones at that gold base and split up into the main base, pick off a queen, get some damage on shut down one of your opponents. But now he's just losing his queen in the main base. The Reapers doing more and more damage, even as the Lings come in. This is so many Reapers to deal with. I think he might actually still be able to clean them up, but look at all the damage he's taking from even those grenades.
Yeah, and look, they're even gonna hop down to the natural here, take out every single mining drone, and then just kind of move on with their lives, satisfied with the damage they've done.
Joe, usually when I say doubling the supply of your opponent, I usually am not talking about it in the terms of like 13 supply to 24 or like 30 supply, but in this case, it actually is that. For both of these players on, of course, RPI, they're almost doubling the supply of their opponents, and surprisingly enough, a 10 supply difference is literally just absolutely game-changing in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, Zero and Bears are trying their hardest to catch up, but it looks like Spaceman knows what an advantage he has. He's just going straight into roaches. He's going to be content to kind of just macro for a minute, have these roaches to defend, and, I mean, they can just kind of sit on their laurels for 2 minutes and then move out and kill their opponents.
All right, Bear's going to move across the map with a few of those roaches. We got Marines being rallied across the map from Zero, who's also finishing up his own natural command center, but doesn't even have the resources to make an orbital command. Feels bad, man, as the Marines even having to retreat back, and the Lings not really able to do a whole lot.
Yeah, this is just, it's a really tough situation, and you feel for these guys here. They're trying their best to make some attacks happen. The defense is rock solid. There's a few Banelings to help deal with any like big flood of surprise zeros that come around. Other than that, the roaches should be able to just hold down any kind of attack here.
Oh man, T-Fang back in the main base of Zero, picking off some more of those workers, forcing a lift up on that natural command center. The roaches are out, which are going to help push back these Reapers, but some nice micro from these Reapers, pulling back the weakened ones, taking out and doing as much free damage as possible. Is eventually going to start to lose a few of these here and there, which does suck, but he makes his way back into the main base. There's some Marines there, but guess what? Those grenades are going to cause so much havoc. Every single pickoff is basically just favorable trades right now for T-Fang.
Nice pincer move, at least. Finally going to clean up those Reapers. And that, I guess, gives you the chance to maybe move across the map and just try to make something happen. I don't think these guys are sitting there thinking, how do we come back in a macro game? I think they're looking for some kind of lucky, devastating damage here.
They kind of have to at this point. And Stim is on the way right now for Zero. That may be the one thing that they're potentially waiting on before they go for this big push out. But like you said, the longer that they wait, the more this turns into a macro game, the higher the supply of Spaceman and T-Fang is going to get. RPI, they have this game in their clutches. All they need to do is close the palm of their hands, and they will be able to seize victory in the first game of this best of 5.
A couple of banelings being morphed in at the top of the ramp. If they can get out at just the right time, maybe they have a chance to know they do get sniped down. And so much DPS walking into the main base of theirs here, and I think his supply is going to start to plummet as they push on ahead.
Yeah, really solid defense from RPI against the early aggression. After that early aggression fails, you know, we had a Zerg player who went for a early pool opening. They tried to put on that aggression. It doesn't work out. You fall so far behind. It's hard to catch up from that. But wow, really well done. Congratulations to RPI as they knock out their first round opponents for the 2v2.
Putting that first game on the board. We are going to be hopping into our 1v1 game in just a moment here, guys, so don't go anywhere. We are going to be right back.
But she said, trust me, these are the stories we will tell. As I stood frozen, infinite, I almost fell. But I got a feeling and my heart starts beating, a sudden rush of feeling alive. This is freedom and I won't change, I won't phase out. I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the first 1v1 of the evening. We're going to have Spaceman versus Exiled here on Ascension to Ire.
Yeah, RPI currently leading up the series in this best of 5, 1-0. Need 2 more victories. And considering that they have Jon Snow coming out in that second 1v1, this is an incredibly important game right now for good old Ontario. So let's go ahead and jump in it and introduce the players.
Spawning here in the bottom right-hand corner in the teal shorts, it is our teal Terran or teal Protoss. Give it up for Exiled.
And his opponent up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the green Zerg player. Give it up for Spaceman, setting up 1-0 for RPI. Just a note to the leagues of these two players. Exiled, our Protoss player, is a Masters 2 Protoss player. Seems to be doing fairly well. And Spaceman, currently sitting in Diamond League, but has former Masters League finishes, so it's a little bit hard to tell. Sometimes players are just not as active on the ladder. They play a lot of their own custom games, and maybe sometimes they're even just off racing or kind of having fun with the game, playing around with things, but are a little bit lower league than you normally would see them.
Yeah, and, you know, that's how things are, but it doesn't matter how good you are on a day-to-day basis. What matters is how you perform in this map, right here and now. That's what puts the points on the board. So we'll have to see if Spaceman can pull this off against, I would say, his favorite opponent. All In, I believe, is the clan he's in. That's like a pretty well-known kind of Masters GM clan.
Yeah, definitely seen them around a lot, and they've done pretty well for themselves. But okay, as we end up seeing the green Zerg player go for that good old hatch gas pool opening that Zerg players also do love. We also have Exile going for sort of pretty typical Protoss opening. It goes for the Gate Nexus core. He's not going to be, you know, playing too safe. He's going to be playing right down the middle of the road. And we'll see how this wall-in is going to finish up. He put the pylon as a part of the wall-in. Something that a lot of Protoss players are not a big fan of these days, but it doesn't often come back to haunt you. It just does occasionally.
Yeah, it is a little bit tougher without that photon overcharge.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, it's also just small other little things, like the gap on the right-hand side of this wall-in, I think it can be a little bit wide. I think like one Zealot has to be very perfectly positioned, I think, to properly cover that. But also there's small little things, like if there's a Zergling run by, you need to have another pylon up there on the north side. Otherwise, that pylon won't reach the Zealot or like a Stalker to warp in and plug up that hole. So there's all these small little things that I think a lot of Pros players have realized of why they don't really like to go for the pylons as a part of a wall-in. But, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. And oftentimes it does require, I was going to say exploiting. And guess what? Spaceman is actually going to be going for a Baneling Nest.
Yeah, this is a build I know very well. You basically just pump out speedlings. You move onto the map as soon as speed is done. Yep, you take that third hatch. Probably just going to be a macro. This is too many lings for Exile to be seeing right now, so alarm bells should be going off here. But losing that Adept is going to be a little bit painful because he knows it's coming, but he doesn't know when exactly it's going to hit and what type of build it's going to be because he didn't see the Baneling Nest.
Oh man, that Adept Shade is going to pull back some of these lings, and I think this is... Oh man, I'm not sure if this is a good decision or a bad decision to pull back for the Adept. Ling speed is going to finish up. He's going to be able to surround and probably kill off this Adept. Oh man, revealing more of the Lings. That definitely is going to be a little bit rough. Another pylon being put up in the other side of that wall, and we have a Stalker also completing the wall and shield battery going up as well. So, I mean, it looks like Exiled is getting ready for this kind of bust in after seeing so many Lings, but does he realize it's a Baneling bust? That is the kind of real question, because those shield batteries are not going to immediately auto heal buildings. They don't heal buildings, so they're not going to be like recharging the shields of the pylon between Baneling hits.
I think the Sentry is the biggest, most critical part of the defense when you have the Baneling bust like this, just because having 2 Sentries gives you those force fields to cut up the
But Joe, he's getting over Overlord speed. He got up in Evolution Chamber. He's gonna go for Baneling drops, I think, but he's droning up now behind this. I think he's just gonna go for really, really fast Baneling drops.
I guess if you do Baneling drops and you make your opponent spend all his money on wall buildings, and then you drone up behind it, it's kind of an unusual situation. A lot is gonna come down to the control of these incoming Baneling drops. Oh, and the probe pulls back. The probe that was checking for these.
Oh, because he's moving the Stalker over there so he can put that on patrol. The probe would only scout it out. It wouldn't be able to stop anything. The funny thing is this Stalker isn't going to be able to stop anything either. That is his only form of anti-air right now. He has 2 sentries at the front that are going to do minimal amounts. but the Dark Shrine is also finishing up right now. So that Dark Shrine could do quite a bit. Here we have the Overlord starting to unload some of those banelings over by these probes, but not actually finding anything. He needs to unload something. He doesn't unload it in time.
That's super, super painful. Those banelings could have tried to get on top of the probes. They could have manually detonated. They could have turned around and went for a less juicy hit, but instead it is nothing. And on the other side of the map, this warp prism is sitting there. It is waiting, and there is no detection on the field. Later, only just now starting. Can these lings scout it out though? Because that would be huge.
No, Joe. He saw the Dark Shrine still building, but when you're going for that kind of baneling drop, it's really hard to also. Oh my God, he's even going for DT blink. This is actually a little bit insane. But I mean, it's so hard when you're focusing in on this kind of harassment to actually go ahead and click on all these random other buildings and realize, oh, there might actually be a Dark Shrine. Is that a Dark Shrine? Is that a pylon? Let me click on it and check, while I'm also trying to get my banelings to detonate on all of their workers. I don't think he has any idea. He's going for a 4th base right now. And, wow. Exiles go straight for the Archons, though. This is a huge win right now for Spacemen.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be tough to defend with just Ling because the Archons absolutely melt them, but it is defendable. It's not like basically just a lost condition here. And that Queen is going to go down. These Archons still making things happen at the front, but they're starting to get a bit low on shields, and as long as the Ling micro is good, he can theoretically fend this off.
Oh man, but these Archons are definitely starting to rake in some of those kills. We got 11 kills on one, 9 kills on another, and they're going to continue to deal out more and more damage. Only one Queen on the way right now for Spacemen, who's actually banking up some minerals. I think this is a little bit of a problem with the macro, trying to deal with this aggression, maybe slipping on those Queens, which he really needs to push back this 4th prism.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually starting up a Hydralisk Den now, but he's got to survive till then, Ruffy. And, I mean, he's backing off a bit now, is exiled, so that's going to give Spaceman a moment to breathe. I think every moment that Spaceman can get to breathe here is going to feel really good for him.
Yeah, it's going to help out a lot if he can get that space to breathe, but there we have the Dark Templar coming out, and they're going to snipe off that 4th base. Now we see a Spore Crawler being thrown down. The drones actually, oh God, clumping up quite a bit. The Archon's going to be able to do some serious splash damage here. Don't actually get as much as I thought they would. And hey, one of the Archons a little too far away from that Warp Prism gets picked off. It looks like Shadow Stride is finally done, so the DTs can now start blinking in on top of things. There are 2 Overseers out, but Joe, let me tell you, I'm a master of Dark Templars with Blink, and they can still be very difficult to deal with, even if you have the Overseers.
12 Hydras are on the way, though, and this could start to go very quickly in Exiled's favor as long as those Overlords are correctly positioned here. Spore Crawler is there to help deal with the DTs. The Hydras are going to come out, and Lings are going to swoop in from behind.
Exile.
He just needs to snipe him down before his hatch dies.
Yeah, well, I like that actual blink. It does allow him to get a couple of extra shots off on that hatchery. He doesn't quite finish it off, but he finishes off the 3rd. He's already killed off the 4th base. These DTs pick up back into the other Warp Prism, and now we have a 2-base Zerg versus a 2-base Protoss player. But even with all the Hydras and stuff out, this does become a bit of a predicament. I do think that Exile is in a lot of trouble right now, but with some good force fields, with good positioning, he can still defend this, and I think if he does defend this, he will be ahead.
Yeah, having those 2 sentries kind of out on the map is a little bit problematic here if they do get caught. The Lings don't want to engage without the Hydras for backup. Keep in mind, these Hydras are only just now getting ranged spines upgrades, and now Exile has been able to join up the rest of his army, and this push suddenly looks a little bit less scary.
Well, has to be careful. He's getting caught out of position from his natural. Hydra started firing down that Cybernetics core for a moment, but they're realizing that they're going to have to back up. That army's gotten a little bit too big for him to deal with.
Yeah, really, really well done by Exile. He kind of held without even making a hold. There was no fight there, but Spaceman knew that he had to back off. He is taking 2 bases behind this, and his worker count is still higher than Exile's, and he can kind of help shoot back up in there. And he's even going up to Hive on just a 2-base economy right now.
Yeah, you know, I was actually talking about how I really liked Exile's position in this situation, but I'm realizing now that we had Evolution Chambers researching upgrades for Spacemen. We had a 4th base that was he double expanded, which I think was a very smart decision, just because I imagine that natural expansion. The reason why I kind of liked this situation for Exiled originally was the natural expansion was so low on hit points, it's just going to fall over to a gust of wind.
There's 12 Swarm Hosts on the way.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be able to trade out so much more effectively. And Exiled is, I think, very far away from having a good answer to a large wave of locusts, but I think he has this nice little timing here. Oh god, he catches a lot of the Hydra. I was gonna say, even if he doesn't catch the Hydras, I think he has a really strong push out time here.
Oh, still producing Swarm Host. This is gonna be quite a battle here. So if Exile can get right on top of these Swarm Hosts, he can maybe try to make something happen before they start trading really efficiently. But this is gonna get like just a super deadly dance as these guys try to launch off. The Zealots getting a really good flanking from the side. They're actually gonna get one Swarm Host completely for free. Every Locust, I believe, fired off there, and the ones at the front not really doing anything.
Yeah, picks off maybe like a DT, doing a little bit of damage to the Archons or some Zealots, but yeah, it was a little bit of a whiff there, just because the Locust waves came out at different times. He's gonna end up losing one Overseer, almost loses a second Overseer, which are actually pretty important in this situation. A DT or two can really rake in some damage, and he's got more DTs also coming alongside this, so with those Overseers picked off, those DTs can go ham.
Yeah, there are now some Lings out to try to help buffer between Swarm Host waves here, and I think that's going to buy Spaceman a little more room to breathe. He wants to wait for these Locusts to be ready again before he tries to push up this ramp. He really doesn't want to get caught losing Swarm Host for free here, and it looks like he's getting ready to engage as some more of these Locusts pop off.
Yeah, Locust about to pop out, like you were saying, and they're going to swoop on down on top of some of these Immortals. So the Zerglings were trying to catch some of the units so that the Locust can swoop in and get some of that damage done. He does soften up some of these Immortals, which is really helpful. But again, like, this army looks scary, but at the end of the day, there's no beef to it after the Swarmos have unleashed their wave of Locusts, and you kind of see that now.
Yeah, it's looking like a bit of a flawed strategy here. He's not taking the correct engagements. He keeps getting caught on this like plateau, and that's such a hard fight to take when you've got the Swarm Host kind of trickling in from the back. I'd love to see him just kind of back off, let all of his waves reset, and try to make something happen that way.
Yeah, I feel like he was just being a little bit over aggressive. He had double expanded. He was actually sitting in, I think, a decent position, but now he might be able to hold off over here if he can. Ooh, gets a kill off on one of the Archons, but the Hydras still have got a lot of damage to get done, and more DT reinforcements coming on in. I think this is going to be a little bit too much, and we may end up seeing the Protoss player Exiled start to overwhelm his opponents.
Yeah, super fun game here, but it does look like it may be curtains for our Zerg player as the last of his Swarm Hosts start to die. The third base is going down here, and it looks like he's just absolutely hemorrhaging supply as Exile continues to push in.
Yeah. Like you said, very cute game in the sense that we got to see a lot of the Blink DTs coming out, which, again, like, they seem like a meme, they seem like a joke, and they seem like you're almost just styling on your opponent, but they actually do find a lot of value, especially after you get that +1 weapons upgrade. You really start weighing it in and laying it into those Hydras. So ends up being actually kind of strong as a reinforcement path, even though I think that Exilda dance a little bit close to losing this game earlier on after that first attack.
Yeah, he's just going to make a bunch of Archons now, and I think probably push it. How many DTs have been created this game? As I'm seeing the Archons
he's
warp
lost
in, like
10
9
and he has
come in.
7 plus 5 Archons, and all of the Archons have come from DTs. So he has 10 Archons, so that's 20 DTs plus 17. So he's had 37 DTs.
Wow, math on stream going well, but yeah, it's absolutely brutal what he's doing to his opponent here. There's not really anything left, but I think Exiled, after flying a little too close to the sun before, is maybe just playing things cautiously. No point in going in for the kill move when you can just take out your opponent's economy entirely, starve him out a bit more, and then maybe move in once you're feeling a tiny bit more comfortable.
There it is, GG. Exile gonna be tying up the series for Ontario. Bring us to a 1-1 series.
Yeah, we're going to be moving into our next game, which will be another 1v1. No one has the chance to close it out right here, guys. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And, yeah, with another 1v1 game.
Mistakes erased, forgotten. Life goes on without me.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. We are hopping into our second 1v1 match of the evening. The score is all tied up between RPI and Ontario Tech. And this should be a fun one coming up because we have Jon Snow.
Yeah, Joe, I think this is gonna be a hard one for Ontario. Facing off versus arguably one of the top 5 North American players, period. Player that just traveled all the way to Germany to participate in WCS Leipzig and actually gave a lot of good players a run for their money. Like, this is gonna be a hard one.
Well, let's introduce our players spawning here in the top left-hand corner, playing for RPI and Storm Gaming. It is Jon Snow.
And his opponent spawned down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. We have the orange Zerg player. Give it up for Bears. Going to be playing for good old Ontario Institute of Technology.
Now, one thing I do want to point out, obviously, we do expect Jon Snow to win. He's the heavy favorite. But I did hop into Bear's profile because I was curious, and I think this guy has the Real Complexity clan tag, and he was a 7x Grandmaster player. So it's not Jon Snow. I mean, there could be some account sharing weirdness going on, but as far as we can tell, based on our detective work, this is not necessarily Jon Snow versus a total scrub here.
Yeah, I actually think that this could very potentially be like a fairly decent player, maybe of the past. I'm almost just imagining like Hendralisk or something. I know it's not Hendralisk, but just someone along those lines, being like one of those former Complexity players that actually was very good at the game and is still just kind of taking advantage and taking an opportunity to try and make something happen. But okay, here we go. With ZVZ, we do have that hatch pool opening for both of these players. But it is Jon Snow that goes to the Gas Geyser, the more normal thing, and Bears who skips his Gas Geyser, the less normal thing.
Yeah, I wonder what he's doing with that there. I mean, we'll find out in a moment here. He could just feel like he wants to play a gasless economical style. I don't think it's super safe, because if your opponent opens up anything speedy, it can be super dicey, super quick here, but it doesn't look like that's what Jon Snow is going to do. He's already starting to drone up his natural a little bit. He's getting a couple of wings out, queens, nothing crazy yet, and we're seeing more drone production, not the flood of wings you might expect if it was some kind of cheeky all-in.
Yeah, exactly. The third base also, of course, coming down for Bears does signal that maybe he's also looking to try and wall off that natural, but I don't know. Like, this is... If you go for the gasless style, it's pretty normal to do it on maps where you can easily wall in, or you're trying to go for that kind of big flood of lings and all in your opponent. But this is such a hard map to wall off that natural on, just because the creep spray doesn't get there very easily. You need like a creep tumor or something, and then there's 2 entryways. But he's continuing to get up some drones. He gets up maybe a small little bit of lings, and it seems like he is. I guess he's just gonna double gas later. This is just such an interesting, potentially maybe old school style of playing ZVZ. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it almost feels like something out of like mid-hots.
Yeah,
just when the
you know
map
what I
pool
mean?
really lent itself to like getting 3 bases super easily, and you could kind of wall off with like maybe a queen and a roach and an evo chamber or something like that.
Yeah, and the other thing is that he also goes for the tucked away third base, which is very easy, I think, to defend in a lot of ways. But actually also trying to go ham on Jon Snow's third base doesn't work out very well. Loses all the lings. That's a little bit unfortunate. I was gonna say, like, if you go for the space, you only have 4 mineral patches, and in the earlier stages of ZVZ, minerals are way more important than gas geysers. So Jon Snow's gonna have 8 full mineral patches to mine from. He's gonna have so much better of an economy going into the mid game.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that I do see, like maybe if you're going for some kind of super aggressive timing, you're hoping to do critical damage, and you're only gonna like drone up on 2 bases, and the third one's basically a macro hatch. then why not have access to those resources? But Jon Snow attacking now. More units coming in behind this. The Banelings trying to get the detonations off on these queens here. I think there's enough energy for one transfuse on the high energy queen here. A third one is coming out to help. That transfuse does go down, but that queen very low on health. The second one is as well, and there's only one behind this to try to help with the wall, and a few units are going to trickle in here.
This is such a weird attack from Jon Snow. I mean, he is droning up now behind this, and he gets into the main base. He does get a scout out on things, but that was a very committed attack to try and bust through a handful of queens. Now, granted, there are literally no queens out right now for bears, so larva production kind of at a bit of a standstill, but a roach horn was finished up for bears. He's got the roaches now coming out. He still has that wall for the most part. Like, Bears is a little bit behind, but actually not that far behind. There was like such a hyper aggressive attack from Jon Snow. It felt very forced.
Do you think he was moving across the map and he got there and he was like, this is weird having like a wall with 3 queens here? But I mean, these Banelings.
That's like the weird thing is that he should have known this because he had an overlord by the third. He has an overlord by 2 of the potential thirds. I mean, that would be in the other locations. So either he thought this was going to be a 2-base attack from 2-base all-in from his opponent, in which case getting on the offensive is unnecessary because you have 3 bases yourself, or you think that, well, my opponent grabbed the back third base, in which case I just have a better base. I should take this out into a macro game. I don't know. I trust Jon Snow. He's a really, really good player. It just felt like a very odd attack to me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It does look like Bears finishing up his layer significantly ahead of Jon Snow here, and off the back of it is going to be Muta. And you know what? That makes a lot of sense to me. He has access to a full 3 bases worth of gas. He's got a pretty safe position with that wall in, so he can trust himself that he's going to be able to get to Muta safely, and then hopefully get out onto the map and just do a bunch of damage and potentially blindside Jon Snow here.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what Jon Snow was maybe concerned about, is that he felt like he had to be aggressive, otherwise he'd just be kind of pushed back into his own base, like against the Muta harassment. He doesn't really have an answer. He has to play very passively until later on. So maybe that's sort of what was partially going through his mind. But we do have a little bit of a roach move out now from Jon Snow as the Ravagers also make their way across the map, cleaning up some of those overlords. And this is hitting at a very, very critical time, right before Bears has finished up that Spire, and his Mutas are not going to be coming out for at least another 40 seconds.
Yeah, and even when he gets those Mutas out, it's not going to be a huge number of them initially because he is lacking in those minerals. Here comes the first push out. There's some roaches to greet this and a couple of spines on the way from behind here, but he has to find a way to survive. And I don't know if moving out into that concave is going to be the correct way to do that.
Oh man, Jon Snow now actually using those corrosive vials on the Roach Warren to not only knock down the wall in, but also prevent additional Roach production from his opponent. But Mutas are going to be on the way. Jon Snow probably has some good sense that, yeah, there are going to be Mutas on the way, because 1, he sees the Spire, and 2, there's weren't that many Roaches from his opponent. But here he goes, continue to move on in. You were talking about this, Joe. It is difficult to just have enough Mutas to kill off the Roaches fast enough before they just completely kill your entire economy.
Yeah, and he's moving up here. Jon Snow's actually biling down those eggs, which is super, super smart. He knows the only thing that can threaten him right now is a bunch of Mutas pop out, and he stopped that from happening. It looks like Jon Snow gonna put another one on the board for RPI as Bears bleeds out.
Yeah, Bears having a kind of cool idea there, trying to go for the eventual wall off, and actually almost ends up working out, but no, Jon Snow shuts it down. 2-1 in favor of RPI right now.
All right, guys, so don't go anywhere because we're going to be right back with what could be our match point here in RPI versus Ontario.
but she said, trust me, these are the stories we will tell. As I stood frozen, infinite, I almost fell, but I got a feeling in my heart starts beating, a sudden rush of feeling alive. This is freedom and I won't change, I won't phase out. I'm no ghost, let me
Right from the start, we knew that this would never be now, baby. Be now, baby. We're miles apart, and we just wanna let it free now, baby. Free now, baby. 'Cause I'm only living for today, and I know you're understanding what I say. We're out of time, so I'm keeping my heart safe and sound. Safe and sound. Safe and Right from the start, we knew that this would never be now, baby. Be now, baby. We're miles apart, and we just wanna let it free now, baby. Free now, baby. 'Cause I'm only living for today, and I know you're understanding what I say. We're out of time, so I'm keeping my heart safe and sound.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. We are on what could be our match point for the evening. It's going to be on Abyssal Reef here, and I think we're jumping straight into this game, Ravi.
Indeed we are, Joe. We're going to be starting up in the top left-hand corner of the map, on top of our red Protoss player. Give it up for Brilliant, who's going to be repping Team RPI.
And his opponent in the bottom right-hand corner, it is the green Zerg player. Give it up for Kiro.
All right, RPI currently sitting up 2-1, one game away from closing out this series. And it is up to Kiro to bring it to the ace match. But even when they bring it to the ace match, there is still that kind of looming threat of Jon Snow coming out in the ace match and finding someone they can field to defeat Jon Snow. But to even make it there, they have to first at least take down Brilliant. And this could be actually a very close series.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are both pretty evenly matched. This is not going to be the top level StarCraft. Instead, it might look more like something like a game of you versus me. Probably with less blink DTs and speedling all-ins.
Oh, Joe, don't say that too soon. We've already seen some blink DTs, and we've also seen at least Baneling busts, so anything is possible.
Absolutely. Brilliant is going to come in here, get a little bit of a scout off, sees the pool going down at a normal timing. I don't think,
That's definitely an earlier pool. I mean, it's a pool, it's a gas pool hatch, I think, or a pool gas hatch. So Brilliant immediately should be thinking, okay, Abyssal Reef, 2 entryways to my natural expansion. I have to go for my Cybernetic Core first. I have to go for my gateway and get this wall off going because the Lings are going to be out pretty quickly.
And it looks like he does respond correctly. He's got that wall coming down here. And the first couple Lings already on their way, as you mentioned, Fear Dragon, and it looks like they're going to be going out there, taking the map, and trying to make something happen.
Yeah, I like this response from Brilliant. He's getting at his Nexus, though. He's not overreacting to this, but there is going to be that Roach Horn on the way. So this is what the follow-up is from Kiro. He's looking to go for the big Roach Ravager all in. He's putting everything on the line on this big attack to try and get substantial damage done, if not try and win the game here.
Yeah, because if you can bust down that wall with your first wave of Roach Ravager, you can just reinforce basically endlessly with Speedlings here. And the first couple of depths are out. And,
that sucks.
Yeah, this is super painful. Kiro's going to get in. He can be really annoying to some probes at the edges. Just have all the information he could want here. And the Adepts either have to come home and deal with it, or Brilliant just has to live with this and kind of pull probes to fight.
Yeah, he's going to pull the probes, which I actually do like a little bit better for him. The Adepts, this is very important, Joe. We need to see if these Adepts survive, because he's going to need everything he can spare to try and somehow survive against the big attack. The Adepts are going to make their way into the main base. They now finish the Shade on top of that Roach Horn. They see it. One of the Adepts is going to lose its life very early on, though. He's going to try and target fire down a drone or two. He does manage to get 2 drones. Doesn't quite get a third, and he doesn't actually, he buys a little bit of time, but not that much, maybe a few seconds. But the important thing is he now knows this attack is coming. What is he going to react with? He already has a robotics facility coming up, and he's still producing workers. I don't know. Like, do you just, I think you have to throw down some shield batteries. You have to make sure you have enough pylons up at that front.
And you say it, and it happens. 2 shield batteries do come down. He's going to want to be chrono boosting out Immortals most likely once he gets that Robo facility out. And other than that, it's just about getting the meat to his army here. He's only producing off of 2 gateways, so he's really got to hit all of his macro cycles perfectly here and just making sure he has enough. These Roaches don't have speed, so they are going to take a little bit of time to get there. And every second he can buy is so critical, especially when he's peeling off Lings for free.
Yeah, killing off the Lings for free is a huge deal here. It really, really helps out quite a bit. As now the Zealot is also getting healed up by the shield battery, and actually the Roaches are even in range of that shield battery, healing the Zealot as it takes on the Roaches. Now the Adepts are going to try and hold the line over there. The shield battery gradually starting to run out of energy, though. That Immortal, it really needs to come out quickly. Another Zealot pops out on the backside, and the Roaches can finally make their way through. So not enough time was necessarily bought to try and hold the line at the front, but he does buy enough time to get that Immortal halfway out, and now Warp Gate technology is finished up.
Yeah, he's got just 2 Stalkers here trying to make the hold, and this is a really scary moment. He wants that first Immortal to get out because that can deal with the Roaches really well, especially with the backup of a Stalker and an Adept here. And it's out now. He can DPS down these Roaches so quickly.
Yeah, but more Lings are coming flooding on forward, and the Immortal's gonna have a hard time dealing with just the pure Lings. This is really, really difficult. Now the Pro's being pulled off the line once again to try and fight against this, but he's already down to workers. He loses his Immortal. He loses his Stalker. He's gonna lose his Zealot, and I think that Joe, he's about to lose the game, potentially.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Brilliant trying to bounce back and forth between his bases, trying to make something happen so we can hold on here, but this is just a really tough situation to be in as the probe count continues to plummet. 41 supply to 10. A couple more units get warped in here, and I think that is going to be curtains, and we are going to the ace match here, Rubby.
Indeed we are, as Ontario with the big Roach Ravager bust. We had actually not even seeing the Ravagers, just a pure Roach Ling flood. Tying up the series, really, really well done. You can see that Brilliant trying to hold on for a little bit, but GG gets called. Kiro keeping his hopes alive for his team.
Yeah, we're going to go to the ace match, guys, now. We do not know what players are going to be coming up next. If I had to venture a guess, it might be a rematch between Jon Snow and Bears, but we'll have to see once the players unveil their picks. Don't go anywhere, because we will be right back.
But she said, trust me, these are the stories we will tell. As I stood frozen, infinite, I almost fell. But I got a feeling and my heart starts beating, a sudden rush of feeling alive. This is freedom and I won't change, I won't phase out. I'm no
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back. It's double vision because Fear Dragon did have to go. We are spawning into our ace match here between RPI and Ontario. It's going to be on Black Pink Ladder Edition, and this should be a lot of fun. A ZVP coming up for you guys as we all get spawned into the lobby. So I think without further ado, we're just going to hop right into these games here. Just as soon as it gets loaded up. And spawning in our top right hand corner, playing for Ontario, it is the teal Protoss player. Give it up for Exiled. And his opponent in the bottom right hand corner, it is our red Zerg player, Jon Snow. I think Jon Snow obviously favored in the matchup here. One of those pro kind of top tier North American players. Exile did show us he's a very solid Masters Protoss, but it's definitely going to be a long climb for him here to try to make something happen. I wouldn't be surprised to see him bust out something a little bit cheeky here. Looks like he's taking that gas very early before his first Nexus, so we'll have to see what he wants to do with that. Back on the other side of the map, Jon Snow just getting his hatch down. I think we're probably going to see a standard hatch gas pool timing here. That's pretty typical. When you're the better player, you might just feel really comfortable trying to play a super solid game and just make sure you don't get caught with your pants down here. Looks like Exile is going to come in for the scout, take a look at what his opponent's doing. And he's going to see the pool timing. He knows that it's all completely normal here. Nothing too crazy. Exiled on the other side of the map does start up his own Nexus. And I mean, so far, it just looks like he's powering up to try to play a game with Jon Snow here. Now, Black Pink is a map where your third is going to be super exposed, no matter where you put it here. You've got a bit of distance. There's not a great way to kind of cock it off. Multiple entryways into the base. And Jon Snow is a player that likes to play super aggressive. He's kind of the low drone king of North America. So he can attack from like nearly any angle, and that can be a really scary thing to deal with if you're a player like Exiled. So I'm curious to see what Exiled wants to do. We do see this pylon in the wall once again. We were talking about that earlier. It does make you a little bit vulnerable, and I think you'd think there might have been some kind of adjustment, but it looks like maybe he's just going to be going for some aggression anyways, as we already see that Twilight Council on the way here. He's chrono boosting out the Adepts as well. So perhaps some kind of early game attack here. Jon Snow on the other side of the map, taking his own third base. Not too worried about anything that could be coming out. He's got speed about halfway done. So by the time any kind of attack really gains any power, he should be good to defend it here. Having the Queen up at the front is a nice touch as well. He can help to push this away from a bit of a distance here. And this first Adept actually going to take a bunch of free hits. That's a bit unfortunate for Exiled. And, ooh, is he actually going to lose this? It's pinned to the minerals, but no, he will get away at the last moment. And it does look like aggression is going to be the favored thing of Exiled. Getting that Dark Templar Shrine up on the way right now. We'll have to see if he chooses to go for Blink Dark Templar again, or if that was kind of a situational decision after what happened in the unusual early game between Spaceman and Exiled. I'm curious if Jon Snow was watching the game. This Overlord rather is super important, whether or not it can get a scout off on his opponent here. It does look like the Stalker of Exiled should be able to shut it down before it reaches anywhere near that Dark Shrine actually, so that's a really clever hiding position he chose. And good positioning of the Stalker. I mean, it's a little bit vulnerable to a front over the top scout, but no matter how you slice it, you're always going to have some vulnerabilities. So I like this play so far. We do see the Robo Facility on the way. I'm curious if Exiled is going to want to go for the Archon drop right off the bat like he did in his earlier game, or if he might be more comfortable, you know, against a player of Jon Snow's caliber, just trying to make a bunch of DTs and hoping he catches Jon Snow unprepared for it. Jon Snow on the other side of the map, taking up to Hydras. No serious fights have happened yet. A couple of Lings do get pushed away at the front. But they did see the Dark Shrine. That's a huge find for them. And, I mean, that Warp Prism only halfway done. Jon Snow knows exactly what is coming. Even if it's Archon drops, a lot of the same defenses you would get. The Spore Crawlers are going to help out pushing that away. And I think this is going to put Jon Snow in a really great position here as he continues to power up. He's getting his Hydralisks out. That can deal really well with the Warp Prism. Shut down any of that drop micro. And now it's time for Exiled to make something happen. Can he do this? Warp Prism getting about 3/4 across the map here, and it does look like it's going to be going for a warp in. Jon Snow's Spidey sense is tingling though, and he actually catches that as these Lings move out. He's going to be looking for this third base, and I think that third base is almost certainly forfeit, which is going to put a lot more pressure onto Exile to try to make something happen here. He's got just 2 Dark Templars warping in. Jon Snow's debating going for it, doesn't feel quite comfortable moving up that ramp, and instead is going to focus on this attack. He actually forced out defensive DT warp-ins, which is super nice for him. He even got the cancel, did Jon Snow. And now only a single Archon available to drop. This attack is already looking like it's starting to lose some of its wind. That Overseer, oh god, everything is going wrong for Exiled here as he tries to make something happen with this Warp Prism. Even tagging it with the Changeling is Jon Snow. Exiled moving out once again with this Warp Prism. He really wants to find a hole here just because he's already put himself in a bit of a deficit by opening up this way and doing absolutely 0 damage. But Jon Snow going in for a really nice pincer maneuver. Not going to be able to get it quite yet. And now Exiled can maybe start making some damage happen. These Lings do get the wraparound. Exiled has already shown us he's got pretty good pickup micro here. And he's going to continue to chip away at these Lings. But he does need to find a way to hold off against this attack that's coming in. He is warping in some Archons. The shield batteries going to be super valuable with them. The DTs are going to add some extra DPS from this. And it looks like he's actually going to go just straight for 3 Archons. A couple of Immortals. He just needs more meat, it feels like, with this army. Because Jon Snow now has 5 Lurkers, and there is very little that can hold up against this. He's continuing to get Immortals out, but it's not enough. Already knocking down the front wall is Jon Snow, and Exile is going to have to find a way to engage this. He does have the Observer for the detection, but with all the Overseers in play, that Observer got sniped very quickly, and now his army is absolutely melting against his opponents here. These Lurkers are continuing to batter away at the army. The front wall is starting to fall very, very quickly, and these Lings can actually trickle on through the front wall here. Very well done by Jon Snow as he continues to press on into his opponent's base. He's completely kicked in the door. There's very little army left for Exiled, and I think Jon Snow could be on his way to sealing the victory for RPI here as he continues to tear through his opponent's defenses. Now unpowered is that Robo facility. There is no hope of an Observer getting out anytime soon, and GG is called as Jon Snow takes the series for RPI. We do want to say, of course, a big thank you to Twitch for helping to make the CSL possible, guys. Just to give you a quick update on the broadcasts, I believe we're doing StarCraft 2 on Tuesdays and Thursdays now. So, congratulations again to RPI. Thank you everyone who tuned in to watch, and we will see you guys on Thursday.
Between